Hello everyone, today we are starting a new section in which we will analyze very beautiful and complex combinations. I'm going to walk you through what was probably the thought process of the players to find these incredible resources, and the idea of course is for you to improve your tactical eye and enjoy, of course, because these are pretty amazing. So without further ado, let's get to it. So this position is from the game Steinitz Bard 11, which is probably Steinitz's most spectacular combination ever, and it's quite a complex one. What is telling us that there might be something in this position? Well, Black's king is kind of exposed, our pieces are incredibly active, we have a knight right in the heart of Black's position, and of course there are some loose pieces. The queen on d7 is right in the crosshairs here. Our queen is X-raying that queen. I mean, if we move the knight away, we're gonna be attacking that queen. Of course, we could argue that our knight is also pinned, but we have prospects of a discovered check. So the first thing we might think of is knight g5 check, which is exceptionally forcing. After knight g5 check, Black has only one move. If he takes the knight, we'll take the queen and that'll be it. But the king can go to the center. Of course, this has to be worked out beforehand, but we're going to move the pieces anyway because this combination is quite complex. So I'll tell you to try to find the move for white from this position before going on with the video. Now it's white to play, and he notices, of course, the king on e8 is right on the open e file, only the knight standing in the way. But there are other small nuances that also help white find an amazing move here. First of all, there's some coincidence points for the white pieces. The rook on c8 is less defended than it might seem. Of course, you might say, well, there's a queen on this end, there's a rook on a8, all of those pieces are in the way, and also the knight. But well, if we look closer, the knight is actually pinned. It can also be eliminated quite easily. So if we manage to make the queen move, rook takes c8 would be just fatal for black. And at the same time, we want to expose the king. So white's move is very forcing and at the same time very spectacular. Rook takes e7. And it turns out that black just can't take with the queen, at least, because the rook is actually hanging on c8. We will just take, and after rook takes c8, queen takes c8 with check. We just won a piece. Queen d8 is the only move, and at the very least we could just take the queen, take on h7 maybe, but even getting the knight back to f3 and we're totally winning. So definitely black can't go for this. At the same time, it looks like king takes e7 might be an option. Of course, we can and should calculate it. And the problem is the king is that it's wide open. We have rook e1 coming with check, and also there's another detail. There's a loose piece on d7. Now you might say, okay, it's defended by the king, but as it so often happens, pieces that are barely or insufficiently defended are cause for tactics. So after rook e1 check, the king has the problem that it can't really just go away, because the queen will be undefended, will just take the queen and that's it. So the king has to stay around the queen, and it's really hard because the king is just going to be totally exposed. So we have two moves to check out, king d8 and king d6. Now king d8 might be the easiest to refute, and I would advise you again to try to find things on your own. King d8 really invites knight e6 check. And there's nowhere to go for that king. The knight is actually taking away c7, so the king is pushed back to the e file. And now you just have to find a discovered check, because the rook is on this file. We need to find this square, knight c5 check. Attacking the queen twice, so we're picking up that queen on the next move. That means essentially that after the check, the king has a lot of trouble keeping in touch with the queen. So it has to go through these seats. Now, it's thoroughly exposed, it's very badly placed, but we still need to be accurate. If rook e6 check, for example, that looks really good, the king can actually go to c5, and even though it looks terrible, we have problems finding a follow-up check, which is terrible. I mean, when we are attacking like this, initiative is exceptionally important. And the king is absolutely open and everything, but we're still down and it's changed. Black, if he gets time, will probably defend. Imagine he gets the time to do something like rook c6, put that rook in the way, try to exchange some pieces. We shouldn't allow this. And we don't have follow-up checks. I mean, we have b4, but after king b5, we're struggling to find even a couple more. So instead of rook e6, white had to find something else. And a good idea is to think of the most restrictive moves possible. Since we don't want this king to go too far, and we definitely don't want it to just go back and hide, white found this check, which first of all doesn't allow king c5 at all. If rook c5, then again, black has a piece that's very difficult to defend. White just plays rook e6 check and deflects the king from the defense of the rook on c5. So if king to c7, we just pick up the rook with check, and that's it. Extra piece, huge attack. Of course, he doesn't really have to play that, but again, if he tries to stay on the c file, now the queen is covering a lot of relevant squares. Now we just give checkmate on the c file, because the queen is taking away all of those squares. So going back here, what happens if he tries to hide, which is probably the most challenging line. So then we have this check, and one of two things happen. I mean, he can go to d8 or b8. If he goes to d8, now we keep checking, and that king is in terrible shape. Queen e8, now we have checkmate in 2 moves. You can try to find it again, and we can force it with knight f7 check, king d7, queen d6, beautiful checkmate. So after queen b4, things seems to be going our way. And if the king goes to c7, rook c1 check, if the king tries to hide back on b8, notice that rook, and it's completely out of play. Now we have this check, queen f4 check, very nice move. And if rook c7, we can just pile up on that poor pinned rook. It's an absolute pin. The rook can't move because the king is behind it. And on the next move, we just pick it up. If black takes the knight, well, we deflected the queen, so we can checkmate with queen takes c7. So far so good. Everything seems to be going our way, but this is not the end of the story, because black had his own resources. If it was this simple, I wouldn't be showing you this game. Black has an incredible resource himself. I'm gonna let you try to think about it. You will see the move because there are not many other moves. I mean, we analyzed king takes c7, we analyzed queen takes c7, nothing seems to work. But actually there's one incredible move. And the point is, after king f8, white also has some problems. And it's a back rank problem. If rook takes c1, that'll be checkmate. So that means we can't really take the queen on d7. If we take with the queen or with the rook, it's just the same. We get checkmated in a couple of moves. So what to do then? The king seems to escape, and suddenly black has all his pieces hanging. And when I say all, it's all of them. And the queen, the knight is under attack, the rook on e7 is still hanging. I know he can't really take it, but well, it's hanging. The rook on c1, of course. So what now? I mean, Steinitz came up with an incredible idea. And he's just going to try to deflect this queen away from c8, the same as he did with rook takes c7. He's trying to make the queen move so he can take on c8. So the only move for white is rook f7 check. Again, queen takes f7. We're not taking the queen because we're still tied down to the rook on c1. So if queen takes f7, we take on c8 with check and we pick up the rook. We're going to be up a full piece after this. So what does black do? Well, he can't really return to e8. Now queen takes d7. It's just checkmate. So the king goes to g8. And it seems like we're running out of ideas here. But again, incredible concept that Steinitz finds here. And the whole point is that he still wants to deflect the queen, because we want to take here twice and just pick up a piece. But at the same time, he's going to play a decoy move, because if we take the move with the queen, with check, then he doesn't have time to checkmate us on the back rank. And that's why rook g7 check is such a great move. It has two tactics embedded in one move. It's a deflection, so if that the queen moves, just pick up the rook with check again. And it's a decoy, which is basically about baiting a piece to an unfavorable square where we're going to exploit it. And if the king takes, we baited the king onto the 7th rank, and now we pick up the queen with check. So there's no time to checkmate on the back rank, and then we pick up the rook and we win pretty easily. So it seems like it's the end of it, but the king doesn't have to take. The king can still move sideways to h8 and to f8. So what is he gonna choose? Well, in the game he went to h8. Now what happens if he goes to the center? Are we really in the need to repeat moves or not? Rook f7, king g8, that will only lead to a draw if we keep doing it. But white has another trick. He can still decoy this king into the 7th rank with knight takes h7 check. And if the king takes the rook, then queen takes d7 is check. So the king can't really avoid losing the queen with check. I mean, king e8 loses the queen with check, mate, really. Okay, so the king can't really go to f8 then. Black keeps trying to escape. He goes to the corner. And it seems very hard to make progress from here. After rook takes h7, black actually resigned. And the reason is it seems like we only repeat moves after king g8. But now there's a very long forcing line, after which white can checkmate, or at the very least pick up that queen. So I'm gonna let you try to find it. You can pause the video. This is a very good moment to practice your calculations. And of course, well, I'm going to continue, but try to do it because it's very forcing and it's a great exercise. So white goes rook g7 check. Again, decoying the king, same themes. And if king f8, we know that knight h7 pushes the king to an unfavorable square. So there's still king h8. But what has changed? Well, that the h file is open. So we have this extra check that we didn't have before. So king takes g7, and now there's a very forcing sequence that ends in checkmate. Queen h7 check, king f8, queen h8 check, king e7, the knight is controlling some vital squares so that the king can't really escape, king e7, queen g7 check. King now has an option. I mean, he can go to d8, e8, d8 or e8, and all of them end in the same way. King d6 might be the easiest because after queen takes, notice how important this rook is on the c file. That rook is instrumental to this whole huge concept works. Yeah, the king can't escape through the c file. Now queen e6 is the only move and we checkmate. But the rook on c1 is going to be extremely important for all of these to work. So king e8, king d8 is just faster. I mean, you're gonna easily see why in a few moves. Queen g8 check, king to e7, and we finally push that king to d8. And again, yeah, the rook is there stopping the king from going away. So after king d8, always be extremely careful even up to the end. If you play a very bad move like knight e6, you have to remember that this is hanging and black can just sacrifice the queen because we don't have the time to pick it up. He's just going to checkmate us on the back rank. So white has to be vigilant all the way to the end. So queen f8 check instead, and you might be picking up on the pattern already. We've seen this checkmate before. Queen e8 is the only move. And now there's checkmate in 2 and checkmate in 3. You can choose. I mean, the checkmate in 2 is knight f7 check, king to d7, queen d6 checkmate. and the checkmate in 3 is queen d6 check, and we're going to coordinate our pieces to give the checkmate with the queen on f8. Queen d7, knight d6, king e8, and queen f8 checkmate. I mean, not all of this happened over the board, by the way, because after rook takes h7, a few moves ago, here, black just resigned. All of these incredible combinations that we're going to keep seeing in these videos have in common that they're quite complex and they involve different tactical themes. In these combinations we're going to keep seeing in these videos, what you will notice is that many tactical themes are involved. Sometimes one same move can actually exploit 2 or more tactical themes at the same time. For example, as rook g7 here, which is at the same time a decoy for the king to go to the unfavorable g7 square, and also a deflection, so the queen moves away and actually allows us to take the rook on c8. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna keep posting these combinations. I'm really fond of this one in particular, but there are many that I really like and I would love to share with you. So thanks a lot. Leave a like, please subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.